All right, this is going to be like a take two of this video. Because I was afraid I kind of shared too much in the first one, but I wanted to go over my selection process and how I go about tackling basically hard targets that need a layered approach. And I've done this in articles before, like in the past, like a while ago, but it certainly has been a while. It's probably been a year since I've done a really big. I will take them down working against a hard target. And so, what kind of target are we talking about? Well, I'm not going to use the name, and I'm not going to use a lot of the details. But I even sigilized their birth date, and that is their sigilized birth date. Because usually people that are this is somebody that you'll sometimes see in social media. They're popular with the right sorts of crowds, and I'm not here to denigrate them because they've fallen for a media personality. Except their offline actions have also shown them just to be a complete piece of shit, and it takes a lot to get me involved with things like that. Because there is risk to me, right? There is. I've done some, we'll say, international casting, and of similar sort. And sometimes they have, magicians protecting them, and a lot of these personalities may not knowingly be using magic, but that doesn't mean they don't have abilities, right? So I always take a layered approach, and I also expect to have to do this several times over. Okay. Sometimes it's to exploit an opening that just came up, but other times it's just because they usually aren't defenseless, right? It's not like we're going against, Uncle Bob that likes to give inappropriate hugs or something, right? This is a predator with charisma, with abilities, and with large settlements against them that they need to pay, and they haven't for years. And not only do they kind of destroy, knowingly, intentionally, willingly destroy lives, literally just to make a buck. They kept doing it, and I just found out the other day that it was as significant as it was, because this happened for like a prolonged period of time, and that was too much for me. That was enough. It's time to do something, so I am. All right, so what am I going to do? Usually I take a multifaceted approach to these things, right? I do some research on them. Like I have my lists here. I know these are backwards, and but they're gonna attack different parts here. And since a lot of this is based on personality and people's perceptions, and frankly just blatant greed and jackassery, then those are the areas that I'm going to try to exploit, right? I mean, there will be some success there, but I expect to have to do this more than once. So, not a big deal. Candles are cheap. Blood can be remade, thankfully, because I use a lot of it in my workings. And yeah, so what I wanted to do here is what I accidentally did last time was I gave a little bit too much away from the target, right? Anybody with a social media following these days, it can be dangerous to say who they are, right? Especially with this person's reputation. Now, I know with everything that's in the news right now that I can't say this has nothing to do with anything I've seen in the news, at least in the past 2 weeks. Okay, so this is actually years old, and it still hasn't been properly resolved. and they aren't going to, but they're still exploiting the people that believe in them for quick gains. And I'm not gonna. I mean, they can. I don't particularly care about them, but the people whose lives they've destroyed, yes, I do care about that. So I typically go against predators. So in this case, since we know this person is involved with social media here and there, now they are a persona, right? They are a I don't know if celebrity is the right word. Right. I got to kind of be careful how I word this, but you will see them in social media. Um, I can think of at least several different channels that you would see that in. And by channels, I mean sites, right? Different media sites. So I know that they use that for part of their livelihood and to help drive sales. So I'm gonna have to go attack that, and I can't just do that and say, oh, make him look really bad, because they already do. So, but even if that wasn't the case, that wouldn't be enough for what I want to do, right? I have to attack it. I'm going to ask for both. Excuse me. Allergies. The tree pollen around here is just horrible. I have to ask for physical attacks against. I guess you could say infrastructure, right? Physical attacks to try to drive up cost to them, and driving up cost to them to increase stress levels. And if I increase stress levels, that may open cracks that may not be available, say, right now. So this is like a whole of I want to say a whole of asshole approach. It's not quite a total war approach, because there's going to be a no harming children thing in there. Yeah, they'll be stressed. Yes, there'll be some uncertainty, but I don't hurt kids. I don't hurt kids. So I'm better than that. Even if this dick isn't, I am better than that. So what I wanted to go over was my selection process. But let's talk about that. I'm sorry. So I have to attack both the physical and I almost said metaphysical, but that's not quite the appearance. So we'll be attacking the appearance, but mostly to kind of tarnish rather than blacken, right? Like blacklist, right? I don't want that, because a slow degradation of that is going to be more stressful to them than just getting cut off, right? And that is what I want. I want a slow decay. I'm not looking for death or anything like that. Not looking for that. I would be very pleased if that happened, but I'm not going to be asking for that, and I don't expect it. It's not going to be in my intent at all. But I would love a slow degrade, because that'll go against their ego, which they have a problem with. So I'll be doing that. I will be going after business relationships. I will be going after personal relationships. Like I said, no kids. But let's see, what else I'm going to do. I want to see usually people that have made money, a serious amount of money, right? They have a tendency to hide their shit offshore, right? False accounts, look at the problem with the Russian oligarchs, right? You've got, they're in 3 or 4 different layers deep of people's names that don't really own them, but they do on paper. And so I want to kind of bring some of that to the forefront, in the hopes that they actually pay the money that they owe, because they do owe some money, and it is not a trivial amount, but they're acting like they don't have any, and that doesn't work for me, because they're still making it, right, daily. They are making significant money, probably daily. More money than I make in a year, I bet, on good days. So I want to bring those funds to light, and I won't necessarily be going after actually getting that transferred over, because I want to see what form that takes, right? I want to see that work. I want to see that come to light. It should be in the news media, and I'll be having to use the media for research, because this isn't a target I can just, I don't know this person, right? So, sorry, I'm switching my chair here. So I don't know this person, so I can't view them like on the daily. So I'll be using that. Let me look real quick. Okay, yeah, that's the majority of it. All right, so what I showed last time though was how I went about selecting the cards that I was going to do. And so now that we have our plan in place, we have to have the plan set in place, or at least our planned approaches right now. It may develop later. You know, things may come up, but I need those actions in my head, right, so that I can then do a better selection process with the cards. And the cards that I'm using are from the Occult Tarot by Travis McHenry. They're pretty good cards. I like them. I had to stand up because I got tired of sitting. But essentially what I'm going to be doing here is, and I could do this with the Angel deck too, I just don't use the Angel deck as much because I'm not drawn to use Angel deck so much. I don't have a problem with it though. And what I'll do is I'll take the card in my hand, and then I'll kind of put my attention on this card and kind of in this card, and ask if they want any part of this. And if they say no, that's not a big deal. I mean, I have several of these to do. Probably not today because these are, 1.5 to 2 hour burn time candles. So probably not today because there's a lot to do still. But I'll go through the deck, and then if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. And I know some of these entities, this is my rejection deck actually. It's right up their wheelhouse, but they just said no, and that's fine. Like Zagan, for example. Zagan would be a really good entity to use for this, but Zagan said no, and that's fine. It happens, right? And something like the deck over here actually are the maybes. So, these are the maybes right here, and sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. But when I'm going through this deck and I'm looking, I'll put here my yes pile here, which this is actually my yes pile. Really surprising. That is a lot. That is a lot of cards. I mean, I usually don't do more than 3 per area, so that way they overlap. But this one, I mean, these are Jesus. So these are the ones that said yes, and I will probably have to do this in several sets. Now, what I haven't done is I haven't sorted them all out. I'll get to that. So I put my intent on each card. I run through this whole deck. I hold each card, and then I get a yes or a no or a maybe. Right. So my maybes, my no's, and now my yeses. Now, what am I going to do now? So what I'm going to do now is, due to my rules being right here, and if I were to flip them over, they would probably give a little bit more revealing information than I want. But I will flip those over, and then I will ask them which of these areas are you interested in helping with. And there may be one area, or they may want to help with 2. They may want to help with 3. This many is just, wow. So I suspect that there are going to be a lot of different ways this is going to get tackled, and this is going to take a while, right? So I only have 22 of these candle holders, so likely can't go in one run, which is fine. So the short of what's going to happen next, right? So I got my candles out. I'm drawing down because I'm afraid they might melt on the way to Hawaii, actually, in those big containers. If it happens to be on the top or something like that, and it gets heated up, then I may have some loss from that. And so I'm drawing down on candles, but I'll go through and I'll ask and see what color candle they want. Half of them don't care, right? I know correspondence tables are big because, well, that's a separate. I don't use them usually at all, unless the tradition that I am working in actually calls for them, and basic evocation does not call for them. Sorry, oops. Solomonic stuff does, but I don't use Solomonic evocation. So So what I'll do here is I'll say, hey, Realm, hey, Belial, I left, and then I'll go through this list, and I'll say, where do you want to work? And then they may say, I don't know, set me to the side, and then I'll figure out what needs to be done still. Or like Belial here kind of wants to take the lead of this, and he's going to at least lead part of it. So that makes sense. Sometimes they work better with a group lead, and sometimes they don't. With this many, I've never had this many. I mean, I'm not reading what's going on down here. I'm literally just holding the card and saying, do you want in on this or not? And then getting my answer. So I'll have to go through all of these and then find out where they fit within my objectives. After that, I will ask them, hey, do you care about what color candle you have? And usually they say no, but they may just randomly pick one of these and say, okay, that's fine. It's not that big of a deal, because what are these candles going to do? These candles are going to be offerings, right? Oh boy, that's earth shattering. Nice job, Norse. Not quite what you're thinking. So the payment is actually going to be the charging and blooding of this candle. Now, probably there are so many candles that I'll probably put oil on the outsides of them to dress them, but mostly so the blood just doesn't dry and flake off. Because when I give something, I mean for it to be consumed, and it's always bugged me that the blood will dry before the candle will go. So I've started oiling them up. So these are actually going to be charged with energy, and then blooded, dressed, and then lit. And I usually also use incense. I've got a lot of stick incense. I don't have as much cone anymore, because it's always kind of a crapshoot if they'll ship your incense, because technically it's flammable, so they get a little nervous. Let's see. I think I've gone over this so you could reasonably do it if you want, and the rest I'll be showing. Hey, these are the highlights from me actually performing this process. But these are essentially petitions towards a topic I want addressed, rather than a specific outcome. Because I know what I want to have happen, but I don't know what the best way to do it is, right? And when you have somebody that has a lot of persona, a lot of personal magnetism and power, and gets fed by a significant number of people that can't think for themselves, then you need to take that into account. So I'm going to go ahead and put these into groups. I'll start talking about what some of these groups are, and I'll also start talking about why I'm comfortable showing this when somebody could just try to counter petition these entities, because there are reasons for that. But those will be different videos. So here we're going to be done with part 1, and then we will move on from there.